What's up, everybody? Mike and AJ back once again. We are returning with the final installment of the Leprechaun series. Thank
So
God.
far.
Oh, if they make any more and
They
you
are.
try, are they?
Yeah, I told you that a while back in March. They were planning a new one.
I've had a lot since then happen and such. But this movie's fucking shit. I don't even want to do this. I don't even want to do the podcast reminiscing talking about it. But this is Leprechaun Returns. Cue the Star Wars intro.
2018 sci-fi original.
And the last movie was 2014, I believe. We did the Leprechaun Origins.
Yes.
So it opens to a four-leaf clover blowing into the mouth of the
It
leprechaun.
shoots back to the original, not the actual footage,
Right.
but
it's
a redoing.
remake of it.
Yeah.
He falls down the well. Then there's this girl on a bus that sees the
Lila.
leprechaun asking, "Where's me gold?" And she wakes up and it was either a vision or a dream or some shit. So she gets where she's going and she's supposed to be getting picked up by someone at the bus stop and she's calling asking about it. And so she's sitting, waiting, and then this truck pulls up. And she
And
looks
we know
over.
that truck.
I forgot which truck it was, and I didn't recognize who
Yeah,
it was.
what's that sign say? Like, something, two guys and a kid or something like that, painting service.
I was going to say, don't expect any miracles out of this movie with me, because I skipped through some of it. It was so bad. But I didn't recognize who it was. I just saw some fucking hickadoo-looking guy. And she looked over and she's like, "Please don't come over here." And I was like, "Oh shit, dude, this guy's gonna fucking rape her." That's all there is to it. He looks like a fucking here, piggy squill, kind of. So,
You got a purty mouth.
exactly. So, I love my notes on this. He starts coming that way, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's the dumbass Otis, Ollie, Andy, whatever his fucking name was."
I had the complete opposite. I was like, oh shit, we meet Ozzy again.
Right? I forgot his name. So,
Ozzy Osbourne, ladies and gentlemen.
I put in my notes that she thinks he's gonna eat her ass and steal a kidney.
Pretty much, she's
So-
creeped out, yeah.
He's like, "You need a ride?" And she's like, "No, thank you. I'm waiting for someone." He's like, "You sure?" And so,
He says, you remind me of someone I know
Right.
from my past.
so then she's like, "No," and he's like, "All right now." He doesn't sound like that. And actually, I was pretty happy with his character development. We'll get into that, but. She looks up a taxi service on her phone, and there's only one taxi service in this town. And she calls it, and it's his fucking phone that rings. And I laughed really good. I was like, that's funny as fuck, because
Ozzy's taxi service.
she calls it and looks over and his phone's ringing, and she's like, "I actually need a ride." And
She's
so-
actually really all nice and shit all of a sudden. She's like, I
Right.
can use a ride.
That was funny as fuck. That was the only good part of this movie. It
Oh,
goes
no, there
downhill
were some
from
other
there.
cheesy, funny moments in
Fuck.
this.
This movie gave me such high hopes from how it looked and how that part happened, and then it just went all downhill from there. So they're in the truck riding together. Ozzy is really nice. He seems way less stupid than in the movie we saw him in last time.
Matured, yeah.
He's matured, and he just seems more like a funny, goofy, simple kind of old man.
He is still paranoid, which I can understand.
Oh, for sure. He's got
He has
PTSD.
4-leaf clover stickers all over his truck.
Right. But he went from like her to dirt to just, kind of simple-ish. So we find out that she is Tori's daughter from the movie he was in, the second one, which
was Jennifer Aniston.
Right. And we find out that she died, and he asked if her mom had told her about anything about the house she was going to, and she said no. So Ozzy takes her there. He gets out and drops his phone. And he sees the old well where the leprechaun went in and he freezes. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And then he runs off. He's like, yeah, I'm out this bitch. So
they tore down the original house and built a sorority house.
Mm-hmm.
And this place is like, what'd they say, like an hour away from anywhere else?
Right.
Like the university and everything?
yeah, it's away from pretty much anything and everything, a good distance. So this orange shirt bitch comes out and is annoying as fuck. This black chick comes out and she's like, "Oh, you're the new
Kate.
chick." She's like, "I'm sorry, you're supposed to get picked up. Sorry about that, yada yada." So this orange shirt chick comes out and is such a bitch. And she's like, "Well, we got to get working." And she's like, "She just got here." And she's like, "Well, do you want to pee inside or outside?" She's like, you got to come work on this like water with us." And
Are you talking about Kate or Meredith?
whichever the orange shirt bitch was.
I don't remember what... Kate is the African-American woman.
Okay, so
And Meredith is the blonde, short-haired girl who drinks all the time.
It's the third one, then. It's the one who's super uppity and stuck up, and she's like, we gotta get this done. She's
Rose?
Like, whatever fucking... I don't know the names, dog. What do you gotta bother me for? But
I actually was kind of invested in this, even though... Yeah.
So... no, because Meredith comes in later with the booze, so it was the first two chicks.
Oh, yeah,
originally.
she shows up with the two guys.
Right, so it was the other white chick who was fucking this uppity, like, you gotta get to work with us, and...
Rose,
Rose, okay. She was installing solar panels because they're trying to make this place like a self-sustaining utopia.
She seems like she's kind of like OCD-ish or something.
Right. They're installing solar panels. They got no Wi-Fi, no phone service. I was like, the movie's getting annoying at this point because it's just these sorority dumb bitches that are... It's just... So, it gets worse. Don't worry.
And they talk about drinking clover juice, which sounds fucking disgusting.
Yes.
But I was like, there's a reason why they're bringing this up. That must come in part later. And it does.
Well, that's good, because I might have skipped through that part, because I don't remember that. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, there was a couple parts I fast-forwarded through. And I will be honest. If a time comes where I stop a movie and stop watching it because it's so bad, I'll tell you. I'll be honest. I won't lie and act like I watched it.
He will not do that for this podcast. He will take this seriously.
Oh, that is me taking it seriously. Like for a certain movie where someone gets dragged to hell, maybe, possibly.
Oh yeah, your favorite actor in the movie.
Yeah, my
Not
favorite
director.
My favorite movie that I like to wipe my ass with. So we get to the point where Ozzy's like, "Where's my phone? I had it here, I had it there. It must be back at her place." So he does this sick fucking donut. Props to you, Ollie. I almost called him Ollie. So
Ollie Oxenfree.
He Ollie's on a skateboard and rides back there with Tony Hawk. This is where the movie... This is where I took acid in the movie, so I don't know if that actually happened. No. So, he goes back to get his phone, and then we see this other chick who they were talking about that was kind of a asshole, they said, but knew about...
She is. She's a straight-up bitch.
That knew about plants or whatever the fuck, so she was important. So,
The funny thing is when she shows up with Andy and Matt, is she brought 3 pizzas, and on the pizza boxes it says legitimate pizza.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, she brings 2 dudes and a bunch of beer to the sorority, and the Rose, she's like, "Oh, we gotta work on this stuff, blah, 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 blah. You can't be bringing these guys here." And then the black chick's like, "I didn't know he's gonna be here." And she's like, "I'm not gonna fuck him again, blah, 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 blah." And it's worthless fucking dialogue at this point.
Yeah, one guy is her ex. She's like, "I'm not gonna fuck him."
It's just stupid sorority
Spoiler,
chicks who are just...
she fucks him.
Who are just stupid with worthless conversation. And so let's see here.
So yeah, we get a shot of Ozzy outside by the well. He hears noises coming from it, and all of a sudden the fucking well explodes and green water goes all over him and shit. And
I was so
he
pissed at
ingests
that.
some. I was like, no, they're not gonna this early.
Right. I was like, he better not have just got possessed. I was like, this better be like a fucking gag or something. I will be so fucking mad. Well, the leprechaun starts coming out of his stomach. And as he's driving the truck, he's like, "Oh no, 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 oh no, oh no, oh!" And then he looks down.
Just leave me alone. Like, it was kind of sad.
It was fucking horrendous. He looks down at his stomach and sees the hands start trying to come out. So he gets out, throws up the 4-leaf clover that he had in his fucking stomach, and let's see here. The leprechaun comes out. He fucking rips out of his stomach, and he's like,
says some cheesy lines.
You look a little worse for wear. You gotta take care of your body, or else whatever the fuck."
Which honestly, Mark Holton, who plays Ozzy, he doesn't look like life was very good to him in this movie.
He probably ate cheeseburgers and sucked coke out of strippers' assholes. I don't know what to tell you. So, first and foremost, the design looks really good, because they changed the design of the leprechaun. Looks really good. And the leprechaun looks at himself and says, "Oh, it's been 25 years." And, he's like, "Oh, how'd I get looking so good?"
Yeah, the leprechaun is not Warwick Davis, because Warwick Davis has kids, and before he does another horror movie like this, he said he wants his kids to at least be 18 years old. So it's some new actor.
Right, and whoever's voice it is super high-pitched and annoying. It feels like it goes from, like, a person that sounds like an Irish person that could be a leprechaun to a person trying to do a leprechaun imitation. Like, "Oh, where's me gold?" to, "Oh, where is me gold? Ah!" And it's like, okay, well, now I want to fucking grind my eyes out with shards of glass fucking listening to this. And that wouldn't help, because my eyes don't listen. So then where am I? Where am I on the spectrum of fucking lostness? By the way, we're still pretty drunk. We're recording right after we
Don't
recorded.
throw me in that category.
We recorded. Okay, he's like a little buzzed. He could drink like 10 gallons of moonshine and just be like, yeah, I'm alright. I'm a little buzzed. But let's see here. So, yeah,
That's me Irish, mate.
I hate the voice.
Laddie, sorry.
So once they killed Ozzy, obviously, because he ripped out of his stomach and his guts are spewed everywhere. As soon as the movie did that, it went down in points to me. I was like, I don't care if this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life, and it deserves a 10 out of 10. It would get a 9 out of 10 just because of killing Ozzy right off the bat like that. So, if you have more to extrapolate on this next part, you go right ahead. But all I said was more worthless sorority flirting and talking. Boom. And the next part I have is about finding out about her mom. So if you have anything,
I don't have anything between that and her mom.
So we find out about her mom. She starts talking about her, the chick that Jennifer Aniston played. It turned out she went crazy and was a mental case after the Leprechaun.
Well, she wasn't crazy.
Oh, well, not crazy, but she went.
Everyone thought she had mental health issues because she was paranoid to go outside and leave the house,
Right.
and basically that led to the lifestyle of her ending up getting cancer and dying.
Well, that kind of paranoia leads to a heavy toll on your mind, and it could make you
stresses you out
Right.
and leads to
could make you like me, where you start having panic attacks and become a fucking worthless sack of shit. So anyway,
exactly.
I'm not saying people who do have those are. I'm saying that I feel like one because yeah, we were there together for those times. That was fun. Yeah. So let's see here. Oh yeah, then this bitch, she really is a fucking, just a full-blown cunt.
She is.
She was like, oh, be careful, her mom was crazy, that shit's hereditary.
Yeah.
And the chick was like, that's not nice, and I'm going to bed. And she's like, I was just kidding, gaw. And so, she goes to bed, and it's the stupidest fucking shit. She sees Ozzy, his dead body, like, staring at her, over her body, and he drips blood on her. And then she wakes up, and there's blood on her face.
Yeah.
If he is what he is at the end of the movie, would there be physical blood from what he turns into being? I don't think so.
Not
Yeah.
at all.
So I was like, oh, I see where this is going. She's gonna try and warn the other chicks about this leprechaun, and they're gonna be like, oh, she is crazy like her mom, yada yada, right? So she goes in the basement. It's flooded. Blah, blah, blah. More useless talking. I'm done at this point.
And the leprechaun is hiding in the water, of course. It's knee-high.
Right.
And that's when there's a shelf with all these, like, canned vegetables and shit. And she's like, oh, I guess she is trying to, like, be healthy. And I think it was Kate was like, oh, don't let it fool you. It's all infused with vodka.
Right. So, next scene I wrote about is Mailman opening the mailbox to a meowing sound, which obviously is a leprechaun luring him in.
I have something before that.
Okay, go ahead.
Lila and Matt, I think it was, is in the barn, and the leprechaun's in there as well, and that they're talking, having their session or whatever. And just like the first movie, he tries to use his magic on a pitchfork to kill someone, but of course he needs his golden to kill more people before it works.
And I, ladies and gentlemen, did not see that part at all because I fast-forwarded when they started talking by a couple minutes.
And she sees Ozzy's reflection in a mirror, so she sees Ozzy again.
I'm talking to the man in the mirror. So, let's see here. Yeah, that's why I put blah blah, more useless talking, I'm done in my notes. But the next part I have is the mailman opening the mailbox to the meowing of the leprechaun. He gets out, gets the mailman's head stuck in the mailbox and knocks him down. And
Which was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
How do you get your head stuck in the mailbox?
Right.
I'm sorry if there's someone out there that's actually gotten their head stuck in a mailbox.
See, so insensitive. And then they got ran over by a leprechaun, and you're just making fun of them.
Idiots.
But the leprechaun steals his truck and runs over his head and fucking smushes it.
It puts a fragile sticker on it.
Right.
Cheesy leprechaun shit.
The leprechaun goes into her taking a shower, and you think he's gonna kill her, but then he just flushes the toilet to make the water cold.
What a dick.
And then it's more of the stupid fucking sorority chick fucking worthless conversation because the chick comes in and she's like, oh, she's gonna be so pissed when she hears there's no hot water. And then she takes a few pictures of the chick taking a shower, and she's like, Snapchat! And she walks out, and it's like, I fucking can't stand sorority bitches. Those kind that are just fucking super... what's the word? Fake and stupid and just idiots. Yeah. Is for Snapchat. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be in a sorority or fraternity and party and fucking get your nuts licked and your pussy fisted by a fucking robot, more power to you. Just don't say stupid shit like that. We'll get along just fine, okay? I'll put the robot arm on. You'll be fine. You understand me? I'll powder my nuts twice. We'll all get along.
I'll fist you.
Don't look at me like that. So, Jesus Christ. Imagine if anyone from my job ever hears this podcast.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
Well, I'm excited for that day. Hello to the future listeners. So, let's see. So
they're using the drone,
right?
And they get a glimpse of the leprechaun, and they're like, "Oh, that's just a rabbit." So yeah, because there's like a 40-pound rabbit running around.
Right. And then she's like, "That thing's gonna tear through all our vegetation in like an hour and all our garden." So then this Irish music starts playing, which was pretty bumping, I won't lie.
Is that an Irish ditty?
I love it. Starts playing, like, that wasn't on my playlist. So then the main chick goes up to her room.
Lila.
Whatever their fucking names are. So, Layla, wow, wow. She goes up to her room, and the leprechaun's there, and she's like, I'm hallucinating. And he's like, oh, I'm real. And he licks her fucking ankle, and he's like, oh, full body like your mother. And then she's like, oh, my mom wasn't crazy. You're who it was, blah, 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 blah. So he's like, yeah, they tried to kill me, but if you leave a piece of a leprechaun intact, it survives. And
cool, thanks for telling me that, Dick.
Right. He's like, it was the gold in Ozzy's stomach, that gold coin that he accidentally swallowed in the fucking second movie, that let the leprechaun regenerate, basically.
First movie.
Was it the first one?
The first movie, yeah.
Which one was the second one, then?
The second one was, the one sneeze once, squeeze twice, sneeze twice.
Okay, right. Luda. So,
Jesus Christ, I'm going to stab you.
oh my God. So let's see here.
She has one of the coins around her neck as a necklace.
He tries to grab it, and
one of her coins, as
Right.
we'll find out later, and it burns him.
and he's like, what the fuck? And she's like, my mom gave it to me and said it would keep me safe. So at this point, there was a conversation where she's like, don't plug in the thing for your air mattresses. It's going to blow the fuse. And the dude did it, and the fuse blew, and the power went out as she was talking to the leprechaun. And then I was going to say, my notes say I'm skipping a lot because this is awful. The next part I have is the leprechaun hunting him in the dark. So you can take it
Oh
away
my
from
God.
here.
Okay, so there's a really... If you guys don't like cheesy movies, you won't like most of the leprechauns, but
You won't like him at all.
there's a... Lila hits the leprechaun in the head with a book, and it partially knocks his head off. And the leprechaun says, "You get good head, lassie," and it runs off. It was hilarious.
Well,
And that's when he runs off, and he runs past Matt and knocks him down while he's recording using a tape recorder. And then we have a scene where Matt and Lila are talking, and Lila's like, "Oh, it wasn't an animal. I'm not crazy. Stop looking at me like we're crazy. We all have to leave." And Matt is looking at her like she's crazy.
of course, naturally. Next part I have is when they're all outside and find out the leprechaun is real, and he throws that wire roll at the leprechaun. So if you have anything before that.
The leprechaun reveals himself to Meredith in the kitchen. And while that's going on, Lila meets with Rose and Matt outside and says that it's the leprechaun that's terrorizing them. And then that scene with Meredith and the leprechaun, they're trying to make out this deal and everything, and he's actually being nice. He takes a selfie with her, which was just the stupidest thing ever.
You want to know what's funny? I skipped through that part. So later in the movie when she's like, I made a deal with him, I was like, oh, is this some kind of big reveal? I had no idea. So I'm not going to apologize. This was an awful movie. I will not apologize for
They don't
skipping.
necessarily reveal that she's making a deal, but you can kind of see it where they're kind of talking, and she's like, "What do you want me to do?" Then it cuts back to them outside.
Oh, God. First and foremost, in the last episode, I didn't say this at all. Sorry about it. Spoiler alert.
For the last episode, spoiler alert.
For the last and for this episode. Because I was going to say spoiler alert for her getting fucking a deal made with him, and I was like, oh, shit. So, you see it in the title, though. If you didn't know there were spoilers, that's your fault. You know why you're here.
So yeah, Meredith runs outside and like, "Yeah, there's a dwarf in the kitchen."
So, then they get outside. Leprechaun reveals himself to everyone, and this dude throws a wire roll at him, and the Leprechaun just fucking like Irish log dances on it or whatever the fuck, and basically,
Oh, but before that, Andy is peeing by himself out in the middle of the woods and shit. And I have to mention it because it's starting to get into modern trope, and I hated this about this movie. But Andy sees him, and he's like, "Oh man, we got to take a selfie." I'm like, "What is with this
Why?
selfie shit?"
God.
And the Leprechaun smiles and everything for it, but then the Leprechaun picks him up and throws him like 100 feet, which was hilarious.
So, so there's this. They had solar panels on the roof, and a little before this, the dude and the black chick who had fucked, they were
Andy
putting
and
it
Kate,
in.
yeah.
And she's like, "You're not putting it in right. You're not screwing it in right. It's not going to stay stable." And he's like, "You're just making it weird because we fucked." And she's like, "We'll never fuck again." And
He's like,
so,
"I've done this many times." She's like, "So have I."
So bada boom, bada bing. The Leprechaun moves it a little bit and makes the solar panel fall and cut him in half.
Which was awesome.
My note here says, "This movie is fucking awful. I'm done." The next part I have is Ozzy becoming a zombie thing spitting maggots. So if you have anything between that, go for it.
Okay, well, they run to the car, and they try to leave after all that, and the key is in Meredith's room, but the funny thing is, Kate says, "You don't think Andy's dead, do you?" It's like, bitch, he just got cut in half. What do you think?
Jesus.
Rose is still in the house, hiding in the closet, and the Leprechaun's hat rolls in front of the door, and he pops out of the hat and says a cheesy line, and Rose stabs him in the head with a heel and starts throwing shoes at him like from the first movie where he's like, "Oh, you can't be throwing just perfectly good shoes."
Right, okay.
So he's organizing them. And another funny thing is he picks up the Crocs and he throws them in the trash, and he's like, "I'm doing fashion a favor by killing these."
Well, that is kind of funny.
And then they all run back inside for the keys. And that's where Meredith starts to go down to the basement. Or Lila does. And Meredith traps her by putting it was a chair, wasn't it?
I skipped all that. I have no
She
idea.
traps her in the basement with a chair underneath the doorknob. And she's like, "Just give him his gold and you'll be fine." So they all get in the car to leave. And of course the Leprechaun is there. And it was a useless scene because they just push him out and they leave. And that's when Ozzy appears to Lila in the basement.
This
And
whole movie was a one useless scene.
she gives him saran wrap to
He-
hold his guts in, which
he's-
how that works when he's a ghost.
Right. He's spitting maggots. He looks like some kind of zombie thing because he has a physical body somehow. But saran wraps his guts and it makes this god-awful noise. So then the next part I have is them finding his actual body. So if there's something happened between that,
There was a lot.
take it away, my man.
So he's like, for some reason, he can't fucking talk all of a sudden because he's a ghost or whatever. And he's miming out, like, what happened in the first movie. And she's like, "I don't understand a single thing you're fucking saying." And he's pointing to where the gold is and stuff, and there's some boxes there. She's like, "The gold is in here," and he nods his head. Turns out the gold wasn't in the boxes, but there's a loose brick in the wall that has all four of the original people's names on it from the first movie. So she pulls that out, and inside there's a map to the gold, and on the map it lists all the Leprechaun's weaknesses and strengths. So then we get a shot of the other people as they're driving away. Meredith says Lila is getting what's coming to her, which at a point earlier she was like, "Oh, she's dead, don't worry about it." And Kate's like, "Wait, she's still alive? You just left her there?" And Rose is like, "We need to go back for her." And that's when the Leprechaun shows up flying on the drone. Did you not see this?
No.
Jesus, dude.
This movie was so bad, I honestly almost stopped watching it and had this be a fucking I'm not finishing it kind of film. So the fact that I did finish it, I deserve some props for that.
You did not finish this.
This movie was almost as bad as Drag Me to Hell, and that will be the recurring fucking horrible fucking staple of movies in my opinion in this
As I was
podcast,
telling this,
sir.
Michael just had this look like, "Yeah, that's what happened."
As soon as you said him flying the drone, I was like, damn, that's wild. I didn't...
He was fucking flying the drone and he was on top of it.
Well, good for him. I hope he had
And
fun.
he literally shows up in front of the car on the drone and fucking flips him off.
Jesus Christ.
It was hilarious. And they swerve and hit him with the car, and he gets impaled through the eye on a fucking tree branch. And that's when they run across Ozzy's truck, and they swerve to miss it, and they crash into a tree.
And now here's where I started watching again. They find Ozzy's dead body, and he takes out Ozzy's eye and puts it in his own head to replace his eye, I guess, because I didn't know he'd lost his eye, so I was wondering why he put an eye in his head, but that would explain it. Find out that Meredith, the bitch, made a deal with him, and he's like, I promised I wouldn't lay a hand on you if you gave me the rest of them. So then obviously I knew with his trickery, he was wording it. He's like, oh, I won't lay a hand on you, but I'll still kill you. So he chases her, and she gets in this field with all these fucking like
an
water
irrigation
sprayed.
field.
Yeah. She gets sprayed and fucked with, and then they fly off and kill her. She gets one right through the fucking back of the head and through the mouth. And I was like, good, she was a bitch. She deserved it.
Of course, it fucking like it keeps working, and it's fucking shooting out her blood like a sprinkler.
So I put on here, I'm skipping again because fuck this movie. The next part I have is the house burning down. So if you have anything between that,
holy shit!
If you have
Good lord!
Listen, this movie did not deserve to be viewed by human eyes. So the fact that I got 70% of it watched, I'm happy. I got no shame.
All right, so we get a shot back of Lila in the basement, and she gets out through a window, and she starts looking for the gold. Then it cuts to a shot of Matt using the drone to look for the leprechaun, and he finds him, and he's like, oh, I see you, laddie. Then Lila runs into Kate and Rose in the middle of the woods, and they look at you just fucking relaxing, not giving a shit. Just lean back in the chair, not caring.
I'm just listening. I'm like, damn, I'll just listen to the story at this point, because I don't know.
She runs into the other two in the middle of the woods. They run off to look to the gold together, and the leprechaun... This kind of had Austin Power, one of the Austin Power movies, throwback, where he's using the drone. Matt is just standing there, and the drone is slowly coming towards him, and Matt's just standing there like, no! Like, he has time to fucking move. But, of course, the leprechaun uses the drone to cut his head off.
Huh.
He just lets it happen. He's like, oh, I guess I don't want to live, apparently. Then the three girls, they find the gold in the same truck from the original movie. And Rose said, you can't give that gold back to him because it's not all the gold. And they're like, what are you talking about? She's like, I found that gold months ago, and I used it to help with projects on the house.
She did what?
Yeah, she found the gold a couple months ago. And so this whole time, Leprechaun's like, where's me gold?
I'm invested now because I didn't know this, and I watched the movie.
There's literally like under 15 coins left in the pot. And she's like, yeah, I used it on projects to fix up the house. And they're like, okay, well, let's go fucking... what pawn shop did you take it to? Let's go get it to. She's like, all the way in Bismarck. And it's like, you stupid bitch. And Kate said that, well... we can fool him. This necklace I have, it hurts him. And Rose is like, or no, it was Kate. She said the necklace around her neck is actually fool's gold, which is iron pyrite, which, as we know, iron hurts him. Mm-hmm. And that's why it burned his hand. So they run off, and they find Matt's head just hanging out in the woods chilling. And then they have one of those kind of moments where they know the leprechaun is watching them. So they have a fake argument kind of thing. To where Lila's like, I'm going to give the gold back to him. And Kate and Rose are like, oh, you're such a stupid bitch. You shouldn't give it to him. And of course the leprechaun shows up to take the gold from Lila. The leprechaun takes the gold from Lila. And she goes to leave. But he uses his magic to sit her down. He's like, you're not going anywhere till I count it. So, all of a sudden, the pot is full. And he starts counting. I think he gets to like 4. And then he sees a string sticking out of the pot. He pulls it out and it's a fucking tampon. And what the girls did is they filled the pot with tampons and then put like the gold on top of it. And they beat the shit out of him with pillows.
Fuck's sakes.
And Lila puts the necklace around his neck. And they trap him in a circle of iron. Did you not make it this far?
I must have skipped through a good 10 minutes because I didn't watch any of this that you're talking about. But I'm invested. I'm listening.
They trapped him in a circle of
it's
iron.
stupid as fuck so far, but...
And he's like, let me the fuck out of here. And then it cuts to a shot of Kate outside who attempts to jump over half of Andy's dead body. And she trips over his leg and falls face first right into his guts, which was hilarious. She manages to turn the power back on in the house. And Rose is in the basement with one of those old school tubs that they used to fill with water, and they had the washboard to wash clothes.
Oh, right.
And she starts filling that with the clover juice, and she grabs the water pump. So at this point, it cuts back to Lila, and the leprechaun is using Lila's mom's voice to attempt to let him go. Let me out. I love you. You can have your mom back if you wish for it, if you let me out. She basically doesn't fall for it and puts the other end of the pump hose into his mouth, and he explodes. And Lila says, okay, now we have to burn his remains, because if any part of him remains, then he can come back. So he isn't really dead. His heart is still beating. And Rose is sweeping up his remains. And yeah, this was a pretty stupid part of the movie. As she's sweeping up...
It was stupid. What do you mean?
As she was sweeping up, his remains turned into a bunch of little tiny leprechauns.
What?
And they show a shot of a golden, trowel trophy on a bookshelf, and it falls off. And one of the tiny leprechauns cuts her, Achilles tendon or her calf or something, and throws a hammer at her, and it goes in her chest. And they trip her, and she falls face first onto the shovel trophy, and it kills her. So Rose is dead. So Kate and Lila go back inside, and the leprechauns lock them in. And then the little leprechauns start forming into normal-sized leprechaun. And that's when they notice that the leprechaun is actually standing on the gold, and they're like, oh, gold is a conductor. Let's just use electricity. So Kate uses an electrical cable on him, and the house catches on fire. He catches on fire.
Oh, I'm invested now because I saw that part, so I can join back in. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
so
and that's when Kate and Lila run in the basement and use a broken window to escape.
And so the house is burning. The leprechaun splagooies all over him and blows into chunks and covers them all in his green
Sends
gooiness.
shrapnel into Kate's back.
So then the movie's finally almost over, ladies and gentlemen.
And the house explodes.
House explodes. Then they're sitting there, and the Aussie ghost thing is waving. And it turns out she's the only one who can see him because the other chick can't see him. And he disappears after she mouths thank you. Fuck this movie. But then we see that the leprechaun's hat survived. That was the part of him that survived.
There's the... when the house exploded, the leprechaun's blood went everywhere, including over them. I'm like, oh, they're going to do this shit at the end of the movie where they're walking off in the sunset or whatever, and one of them's like, I don't feel so good, or some shit like that. But someone from the university shows up in a car. He's like, what happened? And just
they said some stupid shit. They were like, it turns out the best footprint is no footprint. For their fucking
they
green.
start walking off in the woods, and they're like, wait, we can just get a ride with this guy.
Well, the black chick, she was like, wait, I'm losing a lot of blood. We might need a ride. And oh, yeah, right. It's like, oh, yeah, right. You just got impaled and forgot.
And that's when we get a shot of Leprechaun's hat in the rubble.
And then the movie ends, because we're ending this now, because I'm sick to my stomach.
The movie does not end there.
No. The movie ends with this next part. The fucking leprechaun's walking with a sign saying Bismarck or bust. and he gets picked up by a chicken truck, and he heads to Bismarck. And that's the fucking movie.
Yep.
Okay, it's over. You understand me? I'm not watching these ever again unless I get my dick sucked by Mia Farrow. You understand me?
It's
My
happening.
fucking Mother Teresa. I want her to lick my taint to ever watch this movie again. So, I rated this movie, generously rated this movie, 1 out of 5 stars or 2 out of 10.
I gave this a 5.5.
Holy shit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat because now that we have finished this fuckery, we are going to put our collective score all together for the movies
And rank these movies.
and rank it. So, it's out of 80 points total because each movie could be out of 10 points, and there was 8 movies. What's that look about?
I'm looking for I remember what my total score is. But...
Okay. Well, while he's looking up his total score, I would like someone to send me some kind of money compensation for my troubles because this movie, it scarred me and I need therapy because of how bad it was.
Apparently I didn't save my rankings, but I kind of remember them. So.
Do you want to go first or would you like me to go first for the total score overall?
Go ahead.
My total score for these movies out of 80 is 26 out of 80. So...
Okay.
Take that with a grain of salt. What was your total overall score?
My total was 44 out of 80.
You're shitting me. That
Due
high?
to mainly the first 3 movies, which are freaking great. After the third movie, it starts going way downhill.
This movie started downhill. I don't know how these movies start. So yeah, 26 out of 80. Yeah. The best movie out of the series to me was Origins, Leprechaun Origins.
Which is the craziest thing. That's the first time I've ever heard that in my life.
Fucking... The first 3 were okay. They were just kind of meh. I liked the Vegas one a little bit more than the other ones. 4 was god-awful, but not even as bad as what I just rated.
No, it definitely was.
Returns.
Everybody agrees. It was the worst fucking movie.
No, Returns was worse to me. I will watch the space one over Returns.
Because at least fucking Returns goes back and has a story. That 4 is just like, yeah, here's a movie. They're literally just trying to like, hey, every other horror movie goes in space. Let's do it.
Fuck's sakes. And then the In the Hood ones, they were pretty bad, but they were okay.
They were enjoyable without the cheesy rap sessions.
Right. I was going to say, if you get really fucking stoned or really drunk and you watch them, it's something you can have on in the background. It's like, yeah, pop it every now and then to watch it every couple minutes. It's like, yeah, it's kind of funny here and there. But then Origins, I liked it better than the rest of them. And then fucking Returns was the worst Leprechaun movie and one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So yeah, I would say the only use that Leprechaun Origins or Leprechaun Returns, the only use it has is buying the DVDs of it and using it as target practice for heavy artillery. That's the only use it has.
Could use you as target practice.
That's hot. So,
all right, we're gonna get into our rankings here. We'll do one at a time, and you went first for the score, so I'll go first for my rankings. At the number 8 position, I have Leprechaun 4 in space.
Really?
Like everyone else. Leprechaun 4.
Okay.
Except for Michael.
Except for Michael, who's right.
I believe I gave this movie a 2 out of 10.
Okay. What's number 7 then, Kimosabi?
Your number 8.
We're going back and forth and back and forth. Okay. Number 8 is Leprechaun Returns. Awful. Worst. Disgusting.
All right. My number 7 is Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Really?
Yeah. See, I can watch the original In the Hood. I'm not into it, but I can watch it. But Back to the Hood, man, I just can't do it.
Okay. My number 7 is Space in Space. So, number 4.
And my number 6 is Leprechaun Origins.
Okay.
I could watch it, but yeah.
My number 6, my number 6 is Back to the Hood 2.
Okay, so there's not too much difference. You know?
Right.
My number 5 is Leprechaun in the Hood, the first Hood movie, which had some enjoyable parts in it.
And that's the same with me. My number 5 is In the Hood 1.
My golly, look at that.
How about that?
Here's where we differ.
Yep.
My number 4 is Leprechaun Returns. You know, every year around
Unreal.
St. Patrick's Day, not every year, but a couple years in a row or every other year, I'll watch the first 3 movies. I'm actually considering throwing this one in there when I watch those movies. Just
Okay.
because it's related to the first one.
Well, you make me sick. But, hey, everyone's got to have an opinion. And I got to blow my nose. These allergies kill me. So, which number were we on? We were on number 4. My number 4 is Leprechaun 1. The first Leprechaun movie is number 4 for me.
So for Leprechaun 1, 2, and 3, these like change places like all the time. Some years Leprechaun 3 is my favorite. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2. But this watch through, my number 3 was Leprechaun 3 when they're in Vegas.
Okay. And my number 3 was Leprechaun 2. So there you go.
And Leprechaun 1 and 2 for me, I rated them the same this time watching them. But just because of the feel, I put Leprechaun 1 as my number 2.
And I put Leprechaun 3 as my number 2.
And that means Leprechaun 2 is my favorite this year just because of the feel it has. It feels like it's a Halloween-y kind of movie.
And that means Leprechaun Origins is my number 1. So,
Good fucking lord.
these fucking movies are done. You understand me?
We'll see y'all next year for Leprechaun movies again.
Oh, God. These, especially Leprechaun Returns, cause me physical pain. To watch it, I would almost rather take a 10-second fight against Mike Tyson.
Okay, that would be easy.
You're out of your mind, dude. Mike Tyson in 10 seconds will just do some damage and then some, man. Yeah, we have this argument about Mike Tyson. I still think he's a fucking monster and would just wreck and thrash. And I think 10 seconds against him would be the equivalent to going against a freaking, like, a monster. Just awful.
I do not. I believe drugs and alcohol destroyed his body.
Jesus. Well, Mike Tyson, 10 seconds versus watching Leprechaun Returns again. I would take that. So, if you've watched Leprechaun Returns, let me know what you think down below. Let us know. What do you think about the rating overall? If you've seen all the Leprechaun movies. And other than that, subscribe and like. We appreciate you guys. And I'm out of here because I'm hungry and I want to go get drunk more. And that movie just made me depressed because it's awful. So,
And I have to pee. So.
Fantastic. Goodbye, everyone.